Welcome to Just the Two of Us Homestead. We are Colleen and Frank, and we live in the perfect size homestead just for us in southwestern Quebec. Gardening, growing food, and preserving is one of our passions. And our barn animals, we love them so much, they're just like pets. And we're so fortunate to be able to live our lives as we do each and every day. Good morning, everyone. I thought for a change we'd come back in the kitchen because it's been so long. I can't even remember the last time we were in the kitchen together. And it's still early morning, but I wanted to get supper started because I'm going to marinate some chicken. I have a few little preservation things to do. And then I want to go out and work in the garden because that heat wave is finally over. And my gosh, as much as I complained through it, I stayed indoors most of the time, but I went out and watered. And in like 4 or 5 days, the garden has exploded. It's just gone bonkers. I can't believe the difference. So for supper tonight, we're going to have like a Greek marinade chicken. So I have some chicken thighs. I have quite a few of them actually. I think there's 6 maybe. When we got them from these are all from the Amish when I buy them in bulk. And I shouldn't have put this many to a package, but there's 5. But they're 5 really big, boneless, skinless thighs. But I don't mind that there's this many. First of all, we enjoy eating leftovers and it saves another night cooking. But especially in this summer, I really like, we're going to grill these tonight. So tomorrow or the next day, I really enjoy putting like grilled chicken in a salad, like with ranch dressing or something. I really enjoy that. Or tomorrow night, I might take the leftover grilled chicken and make it into a pasta dish. So I'm glad I'm making more. So, oh, I forgot to get a bowl. Oh, I don't have to move. Excuse me. My drawers are right here. I don't think, have we actually ever really cooked in here since I've had the kitchen? I don't think so. I'm trying to decide how much marinade I'm going to make. Oh, well. And speaking of the kitchen, it's not painted yet. And I'm sure for a lot of people, that would really be annoying and stress them out. And yes, it's kind of bugging me. But considering how I've been feeling the last few months, honestly, it hasn't been a priority. So everything's functional, everything's fine. It just needs the paint and the beadboard, and we'll get to it. But it's just not right up there on my priority list right now. The garden was all I could manage, and Frank was doing a lot with me for that, and he takes care of everything else. If that's all I could focus on, that's what he was doing, everything else, if that makes sense. So I'm just kind of making up my own marinade. I'm going to do about half a cup of extra virgin olive oil with a silly little lid that takes forever to pour out. That should be enough. And the other reason I'm doing this is I have 2 very sad looking lemons that have to be used up. But before I squeeze them, I'm just going to zest one of them just a little bit. I don't want too much. I can't believe the heat we had. It was unbearable, like literally unbearable. I'm sure everyone else felt it too. Like we have central air, and the house really didn't feel that air condition. The only time you really felt it was when you went outside and then came back in. Right, so I'm just going to juice these. I took this out of the fridge too because I usually do almost half and half to the olive oil, and I like to use my little old-fashioned one. This was my mother's, so I have one of those squeezy things, but I can't squeeze it so good. And this takes the seeds out. So Frank's gone into our little town. He's gone to drop off some eggs for someone and to go to, well, it's a little bit further than our little town, but to pick up a bunch of strawberries from one of the local farmers. Oh, look at that. Almost a quarter, half a cup. I'm going with that. It's good enough for me. So like a big, I don't know what they're called. Here they come like in a big flat. I don't know what the measurement is. So I forgot the garlic. So I took out of the freezer last night. I have a garlic puck. And I've already done a few garlic scapes, like blended up, which I'm going to do more today. So I'm putting that in. And a whisk. And then I'm going to add, I don't know, a good tablespoon or so of, this time I'm using dried oregano. Usually in a marinade, I like to use the drier spices. I don't know, a good tablespoon and a half of oregano. I'll just eyeball the parsley. I don't know, not quite a tablespoon. But I don't have any dry thyme and dry rosemary because I'm not going to buy it because I know I'm going to have it. I have it fresh in the garden and I don't want to go buy it because I'm going to be dehydrating it. So I just pick some from the garden and I'll just chop it up and use that. I don't want a lot of it in there. I just want a bit, and I picked a little bit of rosemary. I guess I should put some salt too. I have been awake since 1 o'clock in the morning. I went to bed at around 11ish. I fell asleep okay, but since 1, I've been awake in pain, literally awake since 1 o'clock. And it's so bizarre because you think being in pain, I wouldn't be doing this, but I get bored and I'm in pain anyway. So I clean the house. I know it sounds funny, but that's what I do because Frank's asleep. I do quiet cleaning. It's not like I pull out the vacuum or anything like that, but I'm bored out of my mind. I don't watch TV anyway, but I wouldn't even turn it on because he's asleep. And I'm in pain anyway, so it's not like it's going to cause me more pain. I guess I could go out to the garden, but it rained overnight and it's pitch black. There. So just like that much time. Where's my rosemary? I never used to like rosemary. And since I growed up, I like it. And I grew this from seed. It was my first time being successful growing it from seed. There. So I'm going to add like not even half a teaspoon of salt. Mix it all together. Looks like green sludge, but it's going to be very tasty. I'm just going to pour it in my bag. I know a lot of people put yogurt in their Greek marinade, but I don't have any, so we're just doing it like this today. Yeah, so I'm just going to stick this in the fridge, and every few hours I'll give it a massage. Oh, I forgot. I don't really have to do this, but I usually poke a few fork holes in it, but I'm not taking it out now. And with it, I'll bring you back later when I serve it up. I'm going to take a couple of jars of our canned potatoes and roast them. They turn out fantastic. That's one of the ways I love to use the canned potatoes. And a salad from, well, the lettuce from the garden. The cucumber won't be. Isn't that annoying? Because the lettuce never really times up with the tomatoes and the cucumbers. So I get inventive what I put in it. And that's probably all we'll have with it. That's all I like to have with it. So I'm going to stick this in the fridge and I'll come back every few hours and give it a massage. I'm going to clean up my mess and sterilize with my cleanser all my working space. And then we're going to start working on some herbs and stuff from the garden that I picked yesterday. I know everyone's doing the same type of videos this time of year, but that's what I'm doing too, because that's what I have to do. But I have all of these herbs to dehydrate. I have garlic scapes, and I forgot with tonight's supper, I harvested our first broccolis yesterday, and they're not very big. It's kind of embarrassing, but I could see the signs of them starting to bolt, and I'd rather pick it than have it go to waste. This is Green Magic broccoli. It's my absolute favorite. And the very first time I ever grew them, I got huge heads. I'll try and find pictures to put in, because that was a while ago. And this year I'm trying that Calabrese, which claims to be not bolting and all that, but it doesn't form a head. It's one of those broccolis that grows out of the top of the plant, as opposed to this one grows down in the plant with the leaves high up. And I don't like it because it doesn't form a head. So I had to get this guy too, because he was like really starting to look like he was going to bolt. But the good thing is you can eat all the stems. You just peel them and they're very good. Actually, I enjoy eating the stems. But this guy, the Calabrese, I think he sends off more offshoots. The Green Magic does as well, but I think this one sends off more. So maybe that's the trade-off. I think I planted about half and half. So, but I'll go back to just this next year. So I'm going to roast those in the oven with supper tonight too. So I'm not sure if we'll do the salad then. I'll have to see what Frank feels like, because we eat salad and we eat salad, but you can never have too many vegetables. So I think I'm going to start with getting a few things in the dehydrator. And the reason I picked so much last night was I knew it was going to rain overnight, and I knew it wasn't good to pick them this morning. But I don't have a dehydrator. These were all washed last night, and I put them through my salad spinner, so they're pretty dry. And I use my Instapot, has a dehydrating function on it. So I just fill up my little trays here. I have to start at the bottom one. So I can't get a lot on, but I have it running all the time. So I'll do a little bit of everything today. So this is all oregano. Just if there's a little flower head on it, I want to take it off, and any bad leaves. And I'm going to put it in with the stem. I know it takes up more room, but then I could just rip them off when it's time to instead of peeling each one off now. When they're dry, I can just go zip and all the dry petals come off. So I'm just taking off anything that doesn't look nice. Okay. And then I take the next guy. This didn't come with my Instapot. I had to order it separate. Then he goes on here. And then I do another row. So just so everybody gets a turn, because there's no way I'm fitting all of this on, I'll do probably some basil on this level. So he's locked in there. Put the oregano away. There, I'm going to bring it over to the Instapot. It just goes in like this very carefully. And you don't need like their pressure lid or anything, just that. And then I have to find, where's the dehydrating? I haven't done this since last year, so oops. Dehydrator, but the time, I'm gonna do about, I'll do 8 hours and I'll check it, but probably need a bit longer. And this, for this Ninja one, it automatically goes to 150 for dehydrating, but I'm going to change it. I like to do it at about 125. And there we go. So these are the garlic scapes. I've already done a few, but I don't think I'm going to get much more. So I'm just going to, last year or the year before, I think I did a garlic scape pesto. But the way we tend to use it the absolute most is just making those little garlic pucks. I just take off from the flower end on. We use it the most that way. It's so convenient. So when I try and get fancy with certain things, I guess those were the, what were they? The elephant garlic ones, because the other ones don't have that, and I don't mind it. You know, I'm just going to stick to what works best for us and what we use, especially Frank, when he's cooking. He's not as likely to peel a garlic or whatever as I am. So when I do like all these little pucks and stuff, he enjoys it very much. So I usually do them kind of like in 2 sizes. This one's really small, depending on the recipe. And then this one, I figured this one's about a tablespoon, and this is about 2 tablespoons. I don't think I'm going to have enough to fill both, so I'll do a little bit of each. Oops, my lid's on. All right, it's going to get noisy. Hey, my thing's not. How come my thing's? There we go. Whoa. Whoa. This is a very old food processor. I know there's newer, fancier ones, but I'm fine with this guy. Just gonna add a little bit of extra virgin olive oil. I'll start with that and see how it goes. A bit more. There we go. I try and grind it pretty small, or as much as I can, because I find parts of it can be pretty fibrous. Whoa, that'll clean your sinuses. There. I'm just going to start filling up in, and if I have more, I'll work on the bigger one, but I don't think there's a not messy way to do this. But it's so worth it. So it made this little tray, but I really packed them. And I kept a little bit out to either use with tonight's supper or very soon. So I'm going to pop them into the freezer. And then I'll probably just sit for a bit, finish my coffee. And then I'm going to go out and play in the garden. And I'll see you guys back at supper time when I'll show you the chicken the chicken thighs, and how I roast our potatoes that are canned, and the broccoli, and I'm not sure yet if we'll do the salad, but I guess you'll see when I do the supper. So I'll see you later either way. Well, it's only been 7 hours, and these guys are pretty crispy. So I think I'm gonna, sorry, I'm so hot. It wasn't supposed to be so hot today, and it's really muggy, and my hands are clean. I just have a dirt manicure. I even took a scrub brush to them, and I can't get the dirt out. Anyway, so I'm going to take parsley and this is parsley. And I just kind of go like this and scrunch it up. And I keep the herbs that I grow in these spice jars because they hold a lot more than my usual ones. But what I typically do every year when I'm growing new herbs is I have a whole other one of these from last year too. I usually empty, see there's not much left of the basil from last year. Sorry, can you see that? I usually empty what's there from last year, but I'm just about to start supper. I'm getting tired and short on energy. So just for now, I'm going to stick things in little mason jars. And then tomorrow I'll decide if I want to. Yes, it's not really worth throwing that out. But I have so much of everything in the garden, and I prefer to have the fresher ones. Look how nice and green this stayed. Not so much the basil, but So when I keep it on the stems, I can just go like this. Take the stems away. And I do it on like my foldable cutting board. So I can just pour it. Oh, I'm sorry if I look very shiny and glistening. I'm rather warm. All right, I can put this in a jar. And I also cut some fresh parsley to put on with our supper tonight. Hopefully this works okay. Whoa. That's all you get out of all that parsley. So I'll just put a lid on, and tomorrow I'll deal with it. I have the basil. Ooh, that's crispy, eh? And I'll do the oregano. So for supper tonight, we're not going to do the salad. We're just going to keep it simple with roasting the broccoli and the potatoes. And I'm going to use our home canned potatoes and the broccoli. And I'm just going to roast them with olive oil, salt, and pepper. Sometimes I put in rosemary, but tonight I just want the chicken's going to have all the flavor. So I'm just going to leave it like that. But I'm not going to put the broccoli in at the same time as the potatoes because even though they're mostly cooked from the canning process, they're still going to take longer in the oven. I like to get them like nice and crispy on the outside. So I'm going to get them in the oven first. I don't, sorry, there's the oven. I don't know if everybody does this, but when I can potatoes, I always rinse them before I use them. I don't know why. Even though I dry can, to me, there's still like the extra starch on them. So I always rinse them through a strainer first. And if I have to, I pat them dry depending on what I'm using them for, which I will today because I don't want them wet with the oil. So I'm going to wash them, rinse them, dry them, and then I'll put them on the cookie sheet and get the broccoli going too. And Frank's going to do the chicken on the grill outside. And it'll be just a nice, simple supper. Okay, I rinsed them. I patted them dry. Some of them are a bit bigger than others. So I'm just going to take a few and cut them because I want them to all cook the same. And this is my favorite way of using the canned potatoes. They roast up really nice. So I'm just going to put a bunch of olive oil. I'm using kosher salt. Doesn't matter what you use. I just like when I'm roasting to use kosher salt. And some freshly ground pepper. And no other way to do it than with my hands. That's how I do it. Oops, I've run away. There. So I'm going to put them in. And then in about 15 minutes, I'll squish them up a bit more. And I'll cut up the broccoli in the meantime. So whenever we pick any of our brassicas, any of them, I always put them in salt water for a bit first, just to make sure there's no little creepy crawlers. The broccoli isn't so bad. I find the cabbage is the worst because all the layers of the leaves are the worst. And I've mentioned this many times before, but when you get down to the thick part of the stem, it's totally edible. If you just peel the outside of it where it's coarser, rougher, then you just take that off and now you can eat the whole thing. And then the chickens get all the scraps. Because this is such a fresh broccoli and it's so tender, I'm keeping that little head I just cut, hardly had any stem. So I'm leaving these with like the long spear part on them. And because this wasn't like a head lettuce, I'll just peel this one a little bit. There, so that's all ready. I'll clean up my mess. And just near the end of cooking of the potatoes, I'm going to chop up, I said it right. I'll chop up some parsley to put on them. And that's it. It's one cookie sheet or pan sheet in the oven, and Frank's out on the grill. Very less cleanup supper, but the dishwasher is clean and needs to be emptied now, and I have a sink full of dishes to put in. So while all that's in the oven, I'll go ahead and do that. Give this to the chickens, and I'll see you back here when I go to put the broccoli back on. And I might turn on an extra fan because I'm really hot. Okay, the potatoes are getting nicely cooked. They're starting to get some nice good color. So I'm going to put the broccoli on and do the exact same thing. Except this time I won't be able to really get my hands in there. Put a bit more there. And the chicken seems to be coming along well for the timing, so all right, back in the oven it goes. Well, the timing couldn't have been better because Frank just walked in with the chicken as I was reaching. Oh, my glasses just steamed up. As I was reaching for the oven, and there it is. Ooh. So I'm just going to double check. The potatoes have a nice crunch on the outside and soft on the inside. I just want to check the broccoli. My fork goes nicely through everything. And I'm just going to, if you can see the chicken, I'm just going to make a plate. So here's supper. I don't know if the colors show as well, but it looks better in person. So there's supper. Smells delicious. The chicken really smells good. And we're pretty hungry. Like I said, it's getting pretty late. So we're going to sit down to eat. And I told you, we're not like fancy cooks or anything. All our meals are pretty simple, but they're always tasty. Like, it's always good food. So we're going to sit down and eat. And it felt so good to be back in the kitchen with you guys. It's like a nice change from the garden, eh? So thanks so much for spending time with me today. And until we're together again, take care.